Number 10. Banned sneakers. Kicking off our list, we have the banned shoes rule at number 10. While there aren't that many sneakers that the NBA has banned, and most of the time players have the freedom of wearing the sneakers of their choice, there have been instances where a player was fined for wearing a certain sneaker. Take Michael Jordan for example. In 1984, he wore the iconic red and black Air Jordan 1s during a game. Although there wasn't a ban on that specific shoe, the NBA stated that each player must wear shoes that match both his own uniform as well as the shoes worn by other teammates. Jordan was fined $5,000 for breaking the rule. However, that wasn't the end of it. Nike saw this as an opportunity to market the shoes and encouraged Jordan to wear them on the court for a second time, which he did. In 1985, he received a warning from the NBA to warn him about breaking the rules, and since then, the Air Jordan 1 sneakers have been nicknamed as banned Jordan 1 sneakers. The whole marketing revolved around this idea, and kids found the idea of buying banned shoes intriguing and rushed to get their own pair. Number 9. 6 Players Rule. Up next at number 9, we have more of a loophole than a rule. It's the 6 players loophole. Traditionally, each basketball team fields 5 players during a game. The rule, which has since changed, allowed 6 players to be fielded and to play and score as long as the 6th player isn't spotted by the referee. This rule was taken advantage of in 2008 during a game between the Portland Trail Blazers and the Boston Celtics. The Trail Blazers fielded a 6th player, and with the 1-player advantage, they were able to score and win the game. Even though the player was discovered at the end of the second quarter and a technical foul was called, this did not affect the outcome of the game whatsoever. The Trailblazers went on to win the game by 5 points. At number 8, 18 days of mandatory rest. It seems like the NBA is keen on protecting their players, their health and well-being to an extreme point. With an extended schedule, the players will have to deal with less back-to-back games, which will allow them to rest freely during these days off and have a more lenient schedule. However, according to a CNN post, the NBA placed an 18-day mandatory rest for all players. In other words, this means no team practices, meetings, and/or team-related activities during the period of 18 days. This rule ensures that players won't be overworked. Players will, of course, be allowed to work out or use the team's facilities at their own freedom. Number 7. No Anti-LeBron Campaigns. Ever since LeBron James announced on live television that he would be signing with the Miami Heat instead of playing with the Cleveland Cavaliers, which is his hometown team, all hell broke loose. His announcement, which has been dubbed as The Decision, faced a lot of backlash, especially from his angry fans. The decision took the NBA world by storm, and fans went out on the streets and expressed their anger by burning his jersey. In an attempt to stop any hate directed at LeBron, the NBA instructed security to look for anything related to the LeBron James hate campaign, whether it be a jersey or a poster with profanities directed at him. Unfortunately, despite their effort, security guards were not able to stop fans from sneaking in anti-LeBron shirts or posters. Number 6. Disaster Draft. This is hands down one of the funniest and most bizarre rules I've ever heard, but we can't ignore the genius of this rule. While nobody expects an entire team to be wiped away by a disaster, there is a possibility of a team getting severely affected by an accident that may kill or injure more than 5 players on the team. If this happens, an emergency draft called a disaster draft is held for the affected team. Other teams are allowed to protect 5 main players, which allows the affected team to draft any unprotected players from any team in the league. The fact that the NBA has a contingency plan for unforeseen disasters like these shows how thoughtful the managers are, and it's really admirable. The rule was birthed when the Lakers almost lost 10 players in a snowstorm in the 1960s. However, no life was lost as the pilot was able to land safely in a cornfield, but hey, that could have gone south really fast. And at number 5, no Timberlands or Timberland-style boots. According to David Stern's strict policy, NBA players have to abide by the dress code before, during, and after games, and that includes post-game interviews, as well as benched players. This rule was then NBA Commissioner David Stern's attempt to change the image of the NBA, especially after the brawl that was nicknamed Malice at the Palace, which took place in 2004. The brawl, which was broadcasted live on national television, involved both players and fans and resulted in the suspension of Ron Artest for punching fans. It seems like the infamous brawl tainted the NBA image because Stern took action to change it, and that action started with changing the dress code. He banned players from wearing Timberland-style boots while they're in public. Players should instead opt for business casual attire. Number 4. Standing for the anthem. During major league games such as the NFL, players take the opportunity to protest and express their dissatisfaction regarding serious issues by not standing when the national anthem plays. For example, NFL player Colin Kaepernick refused to stand for the national anthem to express his feelings about the United States oppressing African Americans and other minorities in 2016. Unlike the NFL, NBA players have to stand for the national anthem. The penalty of not doing so is not known, but current NBA Commissioner Adam Silver explained that if this were to happen, it would be handled on a case-by-case basis. Number 3. No logos. Endorsements are a big part of any celebrity's career, and the same can be said about basketball players. However, it's harder for them to show a brand or a logo during games, as this will break one of the strict rules which prohibits exhibiting trademarks on court. This rule even extends to tattooed logos, which players have to cover up during the games. According to their strict rules, logos can only be shown on shoes and jerseys of the players. NBA player Iman Shumpert found the most creative way to show his support for Adidas by shaving their logo into the back of his head. He was told by the NBA to shave it immediately, and Shumpert took to Twitter the following day to explain that he wasn't aware that having logos shaved into his head was prohibited. He included a picture of the aftermath after he had the logo completely shaved off and apologized to the NBA. And at number 2, no punching the ball. While kicking the ball is a fair and logical rule in sports, on the other hand, punching the ball is perhaps one of the weirdest rules out there. NBA players are not allowed to punch the ball or hit it with a closed fist during the game. This rule was placed for a multitude of reasons, and breaking it will result in a turnover. A missed punch might result in hurting a spectator seriously, as when a ball is punched erratically, you can't really predict its path. In the heat of the game, if a player runs into the benches with his fist clenched and punches the ball, he might end up hitting a spectator with the unpredictable ball, or even punching a fan. This rule is also for the safety of the players to make the game less violent. And finally, at number 1, no shattering the backboard. There's nothing as cool as a shattered backboard dunk. Daryl Dawkins and Shaquille O'Neal became known for their backboard-shattering dunks. In fact, Daryl Dawkins was the sole reason that the NBA decided to introduce breakaway rims that can bend backwards when a player dunks the ball before snapping back into a horizontal position. All-star basketball player Gus Johnson was another notable player who was famous for shattering backboards 3 times throughout his NBA career between the 1960s and the early 1970s. When a player smashes the backboard, the game has to be halted to replace it, and in the worst-case scenario, someone could get injured by the small pieces of glass flying over the players, sideline press personnel, and even the fans. There were even some games that had to be delayed or canceled as a result. During ABA's Charlie Hentz game, he shattered not 1, but 2 backboards in the same game, which led to the game getting canceled. This is why the NBA has banned it, and the player who would break this rule will be charged with an unsportsmanlike technical foul, and in some cases, a hefty fine.